Hey everyone, so welcome back to another reading vlog. If you're new here, my name is Tonya, and when I do these reading vlogs, I just take you along with me as I read one or more books throughout the week, and we kind of spend some time together reading and chit-chatting about books. So I just got off work for the day. Mondays are a work from home day for me, so that is why I'm in casual attire after just getting off work. When I'm at home, it is t-shirt and leggings, and that's about all you'll find me in. But excited to kick off this vlog. I am currently reading Phantasma. I'm about 60, I'd say, percent of the way through, and I've been absolutely loving it. I had read Enchantra back in April, I believe, so I went a little bit out of order, and so there's a few things in this book that are going to be a little bit spoiled just because there was some things revealed in Enchantra that took place in this book, but it hasn't been anything where it was enough to make me not enjoy the book. And I will also say it was probably good that I did read Enchantra first, just for the sheer fact that I think it would have been more disappointing to me if I'd read this one first, because I am absolutely loving Phantasma. I enjoyed Enchantra, but it was a little slow and repetitive in the middle. Like, I really like the beginning of it and I really like the end of it, but this one so far has been great. It is a gothic style romantasy, and we're following Ophi, or Ophelia, who is a necromancer, and her mother has recently passed away. She's come into her powers, and then she found out that there was some debt that her and her sister hadn't known about that their mother had. So her sister Genevieve, who's in the second book, basically ran off to enter this game of chance at a Devil's Manor, a trial situation. So if there's a little break here, my battery cut out and I had to change it. So apparently I'm ill prepared today, but we're back on track now. So what I was saying is this is basically Genevieve had run off to participate in this game at a Devil's Manor. It's like a traveling trials game where you may or may not live throughout the trials, but there's a big prize at the end, and she thinks that's going to get them out of this situation they're in. And so Ophelia goes to try to find her and ends up being in the trials herself, but they're separated while they're there until they get to level 7. And there's and I believe there's 9 levels that they participate through. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it's 9. I'm through trial number 4 so far, and they've all been, I think, really kind of unique, well thought out trials that they have went through, kind of keep you on your toes. And then the banter in between Ophi and Blackwell, who was our male main character, has been really good. Has been really top-notch. Ophelia is kind of sheltered when it comes to relationships. She doesn't have a lot of experience, but it's kind of been fun to see her and her relationship and her attraction for Blackwell and their relationship kind of grow. So loving it so far. I plan on picking this up again tonight, and we'll do some reading together, and then I'll check back in with you. Alright guys, so it is now Tuesday, so I wanted to give you a little reading update from last night. So I did finish Phantasma by Kaylee Smith, and I like this one so much better than I did Enchantra. Like I said, Enchantra wasn't a bad book, but this one was definitely more up my alley, and I did like the gothic nature of it, along with the pacing, and the book seemed to be better. I love me a good trials plot line, and I thought the trials in this one were pretty unique. They had some of them were really unexpected as far as the trials themselves, so kept it interesting. Now I will say I probably end up at like a 4.25 to a 4.5 for this one, probably a 4.25. But because there's still, I mean, there was a couple of kind of what I would call standard cheesy moments, you know, where they had to call it quits from one another, but then they couldn't stay away, and then they called it quits again, and then they came back together. And that always, you know, that gives me a little bit of an eye roll whenever I read that in a book. I mean, it's like, you know, you're going to end up together. Why do we need this back and forth? But I think that's kind of a standard formula that happens a lot, is the, you know, third act conflict. But overall, really good book, very original. If she does come out with more in this series, like maybe for either Lucy, or if she does a deeper dive into either Ophelia or Genevieve's you know, powers or background or anything like that, I think I would go ahead and read that. I would continue with these characters because I have enjoyed the books. But yeah, overall, if you like Gothic, if you like trials, I would give this book a shot. And I read them out of order. It wasn't the end of the world. Nothing, like I said, you got some reveals, but I still really enjoyed the book, even knowing a little bit about what the outcome was going to be. And then also, sorry, I had to grab my phone to make sure I get this right. I've been listening to an audiobook that is an arc, and it's called Birth of a Dynasty, and I'm not going to pronounce the author's name correctly, probably. I believe, if it'll focus there, it is Chinaza Bado, and it is a pretty, I would say, intense audiobook in the fact that we're following kind of 3 different families, and for most of this we've been getting, at least in this particular book, we've been getting the children's perspective for most of the different POVs, and the 2 main children that it's been focused on, they have not had the easiest or the best things happen to them. So for me, I'm a little bit tender-hearted when it comes to animals and children. It was just hard to read and hard to think about kids being in those kind of situations. Nothing that I would say, you know, you're not going to be able to read the book over it, but you know, it's hard on your heart. Now I will say it took me a little bit to get into it because the narrator is narrating with accents. So I felt like it just took a little extra time to kind of embrace the characters. But then once I did, like I've cried several times while I've been listening to this, you know, out in public. So that's awesome. But really enjoying it so far. I'm almost through. I think I got like 2 hours left. And this comes out in July, and it's going to be a series, but once I do finish listening to it, I'll give you my final thoughts on it. But right now, I would say it's like a 4.0 as far as its star rating for me. This isn't going to be a book that's for everyone because there's not a lot of magic in it. There's seers, so a little bit of mysticism, if you will. And there's, you know, there's some sword fighting, things like that. You know, there's conflicts and war, but it's not like an overly fantasy heavy book at this point. That may change, but at least for this first book, it's been, you know, a lot of world building, a lot of character building, a lot of situation and plot building. So really good so far, but not like your standard fantasy. It's kind of probably closer to like a Five Broken Blades, but without like the humor. Without the humor and romance so far, but still really good. So that's kind of where I am reading wise currently. I am going to be getting changed and taking Luna out for a walk. And then tonight, I think we're going to start on Silver Elite by Danny Francis. You know, this one is all over the place right now. A lot of people have read it and have been talking about it. And I know there's some sort of controversy around the author, but I don't really care about any of that. I'm just going to read the book. If I love it, I love it. If I don't, I don't. But it is a dystopian fantasy. I do know, at least as far as what I've heard about the magic system, it's mostly mind magic. And if you do have mind magic, you're a mod and, you know, you're put to death or imprisoned. So it's not something that people are supposed to have. And our main character ends up through, you know, circumstances out of her control. She basically gets forced into her enemy's elite training program, more like their kind of military or their elite forces, and she has to try to hide this ability she has while she's in training to become this like special forces type soldier. And her plan is, you know, while she's getting this training, she's basically gonna take her enemy down from within. So really interested to get started with this. It's a pretty copy that I got from Book of the Month. This is my first Book of the Month book that I will be reading, so I'm also looking forward to that. But yeah, just gonna get changed, get Luna walked, and then we'll come back and read. Oh, I do have one thing that I wanted to ask all of you about. So I used Kiss nails for the first time, you know, like the Kiss press-on nails, and now they stayed on great. I don't know if you can see that, but I can't get the glue off my fingers. So I tried acetone, it did not take the glue off. I tried lemon essential oil because that gets rid of sticky residues, that did not take it off. If you have any tips for getting nail glue off, definitely let me know. I did order some sort of like debonding liquid, like you brush on from Amazon. That's gonna get here later today. But yeah, hopefully that works because it looks like I have filthy nails currently. And that's not really the look I'm going for. The press-on nails stayed on great. They made it 3 weeks. But now I have gross looking nails and that's not really my jam. So if you have any tips for getting that glue off of press-on nails, definitely leave those down below as well. And I will catch back up with you guys later. Guys, happy Thursday. It's not Thursday. Happy Wednesday. It was a long day. But wanted to go ahead and give you a reading update on Silver Elite. So far pretty good. I didn't get very far into it last night. I only made it to page 58. But a couple of things I will say about it is I really like the writing so far. The magic in this book is mostly like, at least what I've gotten to so far, is mostly mind magic, and it's described really well. One thing that's kind of unique is that anyone who has this mind magic, when they use it, their veins turn silver. So, or at least the majority of the people, anytime they are using their magic, that there's silver showing through their veins. So I thought that was kind of unique. I will say, like I said, that I like the writing so far. Here was a little quote that I really appreciated that happened probably in, it was like the first or second chapter. I would rather fight a cougar barehanded than subject myself to an uncomfortable exchange. That is very true for me. I don't like confrontation. I don't like awkward conversations. And if I could avoid it at all costs, I would. So I thought that was kind of funny and just kind of an example of the writing style. I also kind of like that anytime they are using the mind magic, it's in a different font. It's not italics. It's just, you know, a different font, but it really makes it stand out and differentiate from conversation that would be happening out loud. And the font is actually easier to read than if it was just italicized or anything like that. So I'm liking that so far too. About the book as itself, we'll see. I'm enjoying the writing style. It seems like it's going to be a good plot, but I'm not far enough into it to say for sure. There is, like, she has this friend that she's been conversing with telepathically since she was a younger girl, but she's never met him. She just knows that he supposedly is a boy who is, you know, 4 or 5 years older than her, but she really doesn't know anything much about him, and she calls him Wolf. Now, I feel like I already know who Wolf is going to be, so it'll be interesting as the book plays out if they reveal his character and if he ends up being who I think he'll be. Who I am sure is going to be the love interest. There hasn't been a ton of interaction with him yet, but I'm sure that's going to build. And I'm 99% sure that the person I think is going to be the love interest will actually be the one, because it's the guy that she keeps saying how beautiful he is. So I'm sure that's going to be our love interest, but good so far. We'll be reading more of this tonight and then be able to give you a better update. On other fronts, I did find some nail bond, like it was a remover for nail glue, and basically it's a debonding agent, and you paint it on your nails and then buff it off, and it causes the glue to pill up so that it just falls off. So that seemed to work really well, and now I don't look like I have dirty ass nails, so that's a bonus. But if you do have any other tips for good ways just to remove press on nails in general, would still love to hear those down below. I also have a couple pieces of book mail that I wanted to share with you. The first is I picked up Caraval by Stephanie Garber, and I'm going to be reading that maybe in the fall, but thought it sounded like a good little series. I haven't read any of Stephanie Garber's works, but kind of just the synopsis here. A legendary competition, a mesmerizing romance, and an unbreakable bond between two sisters. Scarlet has never left the tiny island where she and her sister Tella live with their powerful and cruel father. Now Scarlet's father has arranged a marriage for her, and Scarlet thinks her dreams of seeing Caraval, the faraway once-a-year performance where the audience participates in the show, are over. But this year, Scarlet's long dream of invitation finally arrives. With the help of a mysterious sailor, Tella whisks Scarlet away to the show. Only as soon as they arrive, Tella is kidnapped by Caraval's mastermind organizer, Legend. It turns out that this season's Caraval revolves around Tella, and whoever finds her first is the winner. So I think that sounds like a really interesting plot line, kind of creepy carnival kind of vibes. So yeah, looking forward to reading this. And the series, none of the books look like they're very long, and there are like parts of it where, I mean, those aren't like real pages, just a couple lines of text. So I think it'll be a pretty quick read, but I've been wanting to try this one. And then I also got my book of the month box. And the one I selected for this month is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I haven't read any of V.E. Schwab's books before, so I thought it'd be nice to kind of just start with a standalone. And just here on the back, give you an idea about what the book is about. 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. One grows high, and one grows deep, and one grows wild, and all of them grow teeth. And then I think when I looked at the synopsis, it sounds like these are happening in different periods of time, and they're all women who have been wronged in some way, I think all by men. But yeah, like there's a modern time example and two from in the past. One time period is 1827 London, and one is 1532 Santo Domingo. So I think this is a good book for me to try, just to see how I like V.E. Schwab's writing style. So yeah, that's my little bit of book mail there. So I'm going to go ahead and get changed so I can take Luna on her walk. It is hot out today. It's in the 80s, which, you know, it's still the beginning of summer, so not too hot yet, but hot enough where I want to get some shorts on before we go for a walk. And then I'll definitely be reading more tonight, and then I'll give you an update on what I'm thinking of Silver Elite. So Luna and I are back from our walk. We did about 1.5 miles. I try to do 10,500 steps a day. Some days I do better than others, but I've been pretty consistent, and then I'm trying to add in just some like additional stretching and exercising just to get in better shape. I lost like 20 pounds last year, but I could probably use to lose a little more, and I just want to be more fit. You know, so I can feel my best the longest as, you know, I get older. But it was a beautiful day out. One of my favorite things is walking around my neighborhood. I live in a pretty cute neighborhood, so I always enjoy getting out and walking. But while I was walking, I was listening to The Birth of a Dynasty some more. And very good. I've got like an hour left. Like I had mentioned before, it's still a fantasy, but I mean the magic in it is more from seers and like mystics, that sort of magic, not necessarily high magic like you would find in like an epic fantasy or anything like that, or a traditional like fantasy with fae or whatnot in it. But very good. It's a very political fantasy. Like I said, we're following a few different points of view. Two of them are currently children who are, you know, have been used as pawns to a certain extent in their lives, but both are strong in nature. And you get to see them grow and overcome a lot of things in these books, but, you know, some of the things they've went through as children are quite horrible, and it's a very political in nature series. So definitely just had a big twist in it that I was not expecting. I feel like a lot of the time I can pick up on things in books, but the twist here I did not see at all. So I like it when a book can keep me on my toes. So yeah, I'll probably finish this while I'm at work tomorrow, and then I'll give you one last update on it. But right now I'm saying it's probably going to be like a 4 to a 4.5 star book for me. So yeah, so now I'm just going to figure out what I'm going to do for dinner, and then I'll check back in with you guys later. Hey guys, happy Friday. I didn't end up checking in yesterday. It was a long work week. I ended up working over a few days, and yeah, I just didn't make it into giving you a reading update yesterday, but I do have updates for today. So the first is I finished Birth of a Dynasty by Chinaza Bado. And I did look up how to pronounce the author's name, so I didn't mutilate it this time. But this ended up being a really good book. Really enjoyed it. It's not like a high fantasy, anything like that. It's more of a political fantasy. And as I said, we're following kind of 3 different families, all kind of vying for different things, either power and revenge and control of the land they live in. But in this book, we mainly followed Zecora, who is a young girl who ends up being pulled to the capital as kind of a bargaining chip against her family by the current king. And Mikuru, whose family, and this isn't really a spoiler, but his family is killed at the beginning of the book. He was another high noble. So we're kind of following their stories and seeing them grow. There's also a prophecy that's in play that I think we are really getting more glimmers of at the end of the book. And it did kind of end on some plot twists that I didn't see coming. So definitely looking forward to the next book once it comes out in this series. I believe this book officially comes out in July, but definitely if you like a good political book, you like that kind of intrigue, I would suggest this series. Really good. Narration was good. As I said, the accent took a little getting used to, but then, it really added to the story. So definitely check this one out. I'm going to be picking up something else probably later today to start listening to. I picked up a whole bunch of things during the Audible sale, and one of those was We Who Will Die by Stasia Stark, and I'll probably listen to that one next, but I haven't started it yet. But that's kind of what I'm kind of looking forward to the most as far as what I did pick up from the Audible sale. So I'll probably start that one next. I really like Stasia Stark's writing, and I believe this is the same narrator who did her Kingdom of Lies. That's what it was called. And this, I think, is just kind of a offshoot from that series, as we're following one of the other characters from that. At least that's what I think it is. So sounds really good. I'm definitely looking forward to starting that one. And then just a little update on Silver Elite. I'm really liking this one so far. Now I've seen people like, 5 stars, great book, magnificent, all the things. It's not going to be a 5-star read for me. I'm feeling like I'll probably be in that 4.25 star range. I'm about probably, I don't know if you can see that, 60% of the way through the book. I am on page 283, and I am really liking it. Ren is our main character we've been following, or at least that's the name we know her by. That was changed when she was a child just to kind of protect her, since she is a mod and she has mind magic, and that's forbidden. And, in the current state of the world, they kill anyone or put them in labor camp. They either kill, imprison, or enslave anyone that has kind of this mind magic. So she's been on the run since she was a child. And so because of that, and to keep her identity safe, her uncle had changed her name when she was a child. And I say uncle, he wasn't her actual uncle. That's just kind of what she saw him as. He was raising her as a favor to her parents. So her Uncle Jim is who she spent most of her childhood from and learned how to survive and not be caught for being a mod. But different events happen, and she kind of gets forced into going into the military, into a training program where, if they find out that she is a mod, she will be killed. But they forced her into this program. They're not letting her out. She's done what she can to try to get out of the program unsuccessfully. So kind of at the point I'm at, she's accepted the fact that she's there, and she's more looking at how could I take the enemy down from within. The love interest Cross, I like their connection so far. It is more of a slow burn as far as the actual romance. Now, she thinks he's hot and he thinks she's hot, but they haven't actually really done anything yet. So that portion of it's slow burn, but they definitely are attracted to one another. And there's like this other side person that could be a romance, but I don't think really anything's going to come from that. I think that's more of a flirtation kind of thing. I don't see it as developing into like a love triangle or anything like that. It's more just, you know, background noise in my opinion. So it's been really good so far. We're kind of getting to where I think things are going to start happening pretty quickly. Not that the book's been slow, but there hasn't been a whole, I wouldn't say there's been a whole lot of action. It's more events leading up to the big, you know, kind of finale of the book, whatever that may be. Now this I think is going to be a series, so we're not going to get like the be all end all, everything tied up in a bow at the end of this book, but I think things are going to start picking up and we're going to get a better idea of where the next books are going to go. I should be able to read some more today. Don't know how much I'll get read today after I get off work. Fridays for me are Mexican and margarita nights, so I may not get a lot of reading done, but I will definitely check back in and give you an update later. All right, it's still Friday. I just have changed shirts because my walk got me a little sweaty and it was super humid out. So just needed to do a little bit of a change to freshen up before I go to dinner tonight. But wanted to update you on my audiobook as well as Silver Elite. So I had the complete wrong book that I showed you earlier by Stasia Stark. That is one I have saved, but it isn't out yet. So the one I'm actually listening to is This Vicious Dream, and it's kind of picks up after the Kingdom of Lies series. I know that Stasia Stark says you don't have to have read the Kingdom of Lies series before you read this book, but the person we're focusing on was one of the main like supporting characters in that series. We're following Medinia and kind of picking up her story where she parted ways with the rest of the group after the war had finished. So it definitely helps if you read that series first, at least I think getting you like quickly invested in the different characters that are going to be in this book. And so far I've only listened to like an hour of it, but there have been little references back to the Kingdom of Lies series or some of the characters in it. I just think you will start enjoying this book a lot quicker because you're already invested in Medinia's story if you've read the Kingdom of Lies first. So just my 2 cents worth. I know the author says you don't have to, but I think that you'd get more enjoyment out of the book if you do read the Kingdom of Lies first. And it's a great series. So if you're someone who likes fantasy and romantasy, I think you'll definitely like that one. So yeah. Read that first, then start this one. I think that's how you're going to get the most out of the book. But I'm only like an hour in so far, but there's already been twists that I haven't expected. I love the narrators in this book. They're the same ones who did the previous series, so you're kind of already comfortable with their narration styles. So enjoying it so far, but a lot more to go before I can give a real opinion on how I like this book. Then, for Silver Elite, I did get a chance to read a little bit of this after work, so now I am like 75% of the way through. I will say how I was saying it was kind of slow burn. We've left the slow burn phase. We're now into them really being into each other and some action taking place. So I still really enjoy kind of the banter. You know, seeing their romance kind of progress and just seeing the sexual tension and, like I said, the way they banter through that. So really enjoying that part of the book. And then they are now at a point where, you know, Ren's been in this training program, kind of keeping her true identity a secret as far as her being a mod. And they're nearing the end of the program. They're going to be selecting people for the Silver Elite Squad, hence the name of the book. And so we're getting ready to find out who actually made it into that program. I can't imagine that Rin won't be selected for it because that is the whole name of the book. Then once we get to that point, I figure there still has to be that big, you know, plot twist or some sort of battle or mission that's going to take place once the group is selected, because we only have, like I said, a little, there's only about 25% of the book left, and we haven't had that one big, you know, climactic moment yet, which we're gonna need if this is gonna be a series. So can't wait to see what happens in this last little chunk of the book, and see how this one ends and sets up the next book. But I'm sure I will probably not read any more tonight, but I will finish this book off tomorrow and give you my final thoughts. Alright guys, so I did finish Silver Elite last night. I wanted to come back and give you my final thoughts. But first, I ended up going to Half Price Books yesterday and picking up a few books. I need to slow my roll a little bit on the book buying because I bought a lot this week for no good reason, but the fact that I saw them and they were on sale and I wanted them. So, the books I picked up is first The Hemlock Queen. And this one looks really good. I did find out it's the second book in a series, so I do need to get the first one. The series is The Nightshade Crown. So pick that up along with Book of the Night by Holly Black. And this is her adult debut book. And then I got a TJ Klune book, Under the Whispering Door. So yeah, those are the three I picked up. I'll give you more information on those like closer to when I actually read them, but I love when I can find a good deal at Half Price Books. So got those three yesterday. And then my final thoughts for Silver Elite. This wasn't a 5-star book for me. I know it has been for a lot of people. I would say it's a solid 4. Overall, really good book. It is dystopian, but that's not like the forefront, at least in this first book, of what's happening. It's more the military aspect of it because Ren is, you know, going through the training program to become a Silver Elite. So the main focus, I wouldn't say, in this book was the dystopian portion, though you got hints of it, of course. That's kind of the background for the book, as well as you got some insights into that dystopian world throughout the book. I wouldn't even say like that the romance was at the forefront of this book. It was more subplot in this first book. But I did really enjoy the banter in between Ren and Cross, and interested to see where the story kind of unfolds. I will say, like I said, this was a solid 4-star for me. Kind of what kept it from being a 5-star is some of the things I think were pretty obvious to figure out. One of the main kind of reveals I figured out in the first 100 pages. And it would have been nice if that was a little bit more of a mystery, but I'm pretty good at figuring things out in books, so that might just be a me thing. But then also at the end, when we're in that last, 25% where things are usually go, go, go and starting to happen, there was some pacing issues because the author slowed it down for a little bit. And then just, we kind of skipped forward in time a few weeks and then a few months. And then all of a sudden the action happened. So I didn't like the way that it slowed down again since we were at the end of the book. Even though we did get our, big action scene or big reveal plot twist at the end. I just felt like the author slowed it down a little more than they needed to, because at the end of the book, your interest should not be lagging at any point. You've been building up to this big conclusion through the whole book, so there shouldn't be that kind of lull in action in the last, 25% of the book. So that was a little bit of a problem for me, but overall, good book. I would suggest reading it. I did enjoy the kind of mind magic portion of it. And something else that did happen, I know I talked at the beginning about how I liked that The font was different. It was not italicized when they were mind magic talking to each other. Well, they ended up, if it was inner dialogue, that was italicized. If it was between two different people, that was a different font. And then, you know, if it was just regular conversation, that was in whatever, you know, the book's standard font. I think just that formatting made it really easy to follow what was going on in the book, so I definitely did like that. Like I said, there's just some pacing issues. So, thank you so much for spending the week with me. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me, and definitely, if you've read this book, let me know your thoughts on it. Take care, keep reading, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.